Welcome to the MaYapinion Podcast, where two dynamic sisters dive deep into the world of women in entrepreneurship, sharing their own personal journeys, insights, and opinions.
From their wins to challenges, the highs and lows of their personal lives, and the hottest topics shaping our world, we are the fierce and fearless hosts that tackle it all.
Get ready for engaging conversations, inspiring stories, and thought-provoking discussions that celebrate the power and resilience of women.
Now, let's dive into an episode where we empower women entrepreneurs, one opinion at a time.
Welcome back to the MaYapinion Podcast. I'm here with my new co-host, Lily.
Hi.
Lily, welcome back.
Thanks for having me back all these times.
Yeah. So we're really excited today because we just interviewed each other. We flipped the script on each other. If you missed episode 1 and 2, make sure you go back and watch or listen. Both are available. But today we're going to kind of start at the beginning. And today's episode is really to talk about our opinions and share with all of you, how the heck do I start? Where do I start? If I had $1, no, I'm going to take that back. If I had a quarter for every time
somebody asked you.
Yes. Or I read it in like a Facebook group, or I read it, I get private messages on Instagram all the time. Maya, I've been following you. This is exciting. I'm sure you've heard that too with you starting your business.
Yeah, I have people that like the idea or already are buying items like that I'm reselling, and they are just like, how? How did you even start?
How did you even start? Again, if I had not even $1, like a quarter, we'd be recording this from my yachts, which we will be one day. But in the meantime, I really wanted to kick off with this question because I've heard it so much. How do you start? So I want to hear your opinion first. What do you think? Where do you start?
You have to identify what you're passionate about first.
Yeah.
It might take you several tries. Your first might not be the lasting one.
Yes.
But you have to start somewhere. So you have to just identify something you're passionate about and just try. See if there's a market for whatever you're wanting. Mine is reselling, so you have to look into that. What does that look like? Is it something I can do without really spending a lot of money to start? Because most of the time you want to create your own business because you want to make money, not lose money. Of course, at first you are going to have upfront costs and things like this. And if you're not in a place where you can afford that, then you might need to find a cheaper way or another way. There's not just one way to start a business. So these are things you need to identify first. What's my passion? If not, what's my passion? Maybe your passion's money. So what can I make money off of?
And that's okay too.
That's okay.
Yeah. I feel like you do have to have a passion for making money to be an entrepreneur, right? Like, I really like that you said that, because I'm like, I think it would be really hard to build your own business if you didn't have a passion for that.
Yeah.
But I think, in my opinion, I think people get confused by that. They're like, well, I'm not greedy. I don't need to be a millionaire, or I don't need to be a billionaire or whatever. And that's okay too. But you have to have a passion for making your own money.
Or at least you want to feel financially stable, or, you're wanting to quit your job to make money, so you need to have something that's going to make you financially stable, or say you just want to bring in extra income to your family. That's all money. It's not, I'm going to start my passion and not make any money off of it. Of course, nonprofits, things like that, but
they still make money.
They still make money. So.
Yeah, you want a zero balance sheet at the end of the year, but yeah, they still make money, and the money is to help people. So you have to embrace that if that's what you want to do. So I agree with you. I think it's really about finding what you're passionate about, but I want to build on that, because sometimes people will say to me when they ask, because I offer different courses, coaching, things like that I do, aside from the other things, I do that as well. And branding and podcasting are things that I help people get started with.
Mm-hmm.
And that's, I think, why I get these questions a lot, right? And I have people that will literally tell me, because my question, that's my first question I ask them. So I love that you said that, because I will say, what are you passionate about? What do you enjoy doing? Like, those are the things you need to, some people will tell me, and if this is you, it's okay. I'm not knocking you. It's okay. I don't know.
That's fine.
That's okay.
Mm-hmm.
But I always say, okay, if you really don't know, trust me, you're human. You're living, breathing, living every day. Like, you're human. You like something.
Well, honestly, you could look back at jobs you've had too and say, what did you like about the components in those jobs? If you hated everything, that's another story. But there's going to be something that you liked, and maybe that was you had a creative outlet at that job. Maybe you liked managing teams, or you liked creating schedules. I don't know. These are little things, but those are all things you can make into a business.
Mm-hmm.
And so even if you, I don't know what I'm passionate about, you can look back at your past jobs, even, I don't know, past relationships, past friendships. You can see things in them that you were passionate about. Not as much with the relationships, but if you really don't know, you could look back.
Sometimes, what if you want to be a relationship coach?
Yeah.
What if all your friends come to you all the time for advice?
Mm-hmm.
There's something to that.
Yeah.
So, no, you're right. That can be a thing too. Like, so what I always say is, this is corny. I know it's corny, but when I get people that say that to me, I'm like, literally go and sit down with a piece of paper and write down everything you like and everything you hate. Like, literally.
Mm-hmm.
Or dislike, I would guess would be a softer term, but literally write it down.
Yeah. And
then you can look at that, and if you really don't know, go to a friend, go to a family member. Yeah. And have them look at that
too.
Yeah. And have them go and look at it objectively.
Mm-hmm.
Or have someone like a business coach or anybody, like, look at them and say, hey, this is what I love to do. This is what I hate to do. What is it? What is this?
Yeah.
I mean, it sounds so simple, but it is really where you start.
Mm-hmm.
Unless, you're in it already and you're like, okay, there's something, and then you're kind of on your path. But if you really are just stumped, that's always my advice. Like, write that down, get someone objectively to look at it and say, okay, well, you absolutely do not like going into an office every day. So maybe you need to build a business at home, right? But you enjoy being in front of people. So maybe you need to do XYZ, right? Mm-hmm. Oh, you enjoy talking? Have you thought about public speaking? I'm just rolling with the punches here, right? But there's something for everybody. We're all here for a reason. And I think if you don't know, I think sometimes it's because you're really disconnected, because you might hate your job. You might be really unhappy with what you're doing, and the passion isn't there. Yeah.
And also, I mean, just trying things. Getting out there, trying things. Even if you still do have a job, just maybe on the weekends you go, oh, I'm interested. This is not a great example, but like, I'm interested in karaoke. Maybe I want to make a karaoke business. I don't know. You've never done it before. You don't know. Go to a karaoke on the weekends. You don't have to quit your job and immediately have a solution. You can find out these things that you like on your time off, or I don't know, on the clock if you want.
That's your own thing, though. You can figure that out.
Yeah.
Okay, I want to comment on both of these, because in my opinion, you're just nailing two really important things. One, everybody thinks that you have to just take this big leap of faith and just say, okay, let me cash out my 401k and I'm going all in.
Yeah.
You don't have to do that.
That's what all these Shark Tank people are. I think that's because we see that all over the place.
Right, because we see that. But that's a great thing to talk about too, because yes, I love Shark Tank. A lot of people love Shark Tank. And we see that and we hear these stories and they're like, I cashed out my 401k. What we need, or I, spent all my savings, or I borrowed money from family. That's okay. That's great. But what did they have first? An idea and passion. And we're going to get to idea in a second, but they had passion and they believed in themselves. If you don't know yet, please don't cash out your 401k.
Yeah.
Just again, that's just my opinion. You do what you want to do, but that's again. But I love that you're saying that, you know, you can start this stuff while you have a job and you have an income, because I think that gives a lot of people anxiety to take that leap.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people don't. Fortunately, you know, I had a spouse who already made the majority of the money after I had quit my job to stay home with my son. Before, you know, we were pretty equally matched, but I fortunately had somebody, you know, it wasn't all on me at first.
Right.
But, I mean, we did become dependent on my business, too. So at first, it does help to have a supportive spouse, partner, but you don't necessarily need somebody to back you. You can back yourself.
Yeah, I love that message. I think it's really important because some of you guys will have a partner that we're going to do a whole episode on this too, about supportive partners, because this is a whole other topic. But I think that's a really good point to bring up here, how to get started. You know, I've met, obviously I know you guys very well, but I've also met other, you know, women that have had an incredibly supportive partner and was just like, go for it. Take that leap. Like, I'll carry us. And maybe you have to change your lifestyle a little bit for a while until you start bringing in revenue. But I think that's a really important thing to think about. But you have to love what you're doing. And if you're not loving it, then it's time to move on. So that was a really important point. And I think it's really important too that you try different things, just like you said. And I love when people come to me and they're like, I really want to do, and I'm not making fun of any of you guys. Like, I love all of you guys, but this is interesting to me. When people come to me and they're in this beginning phase, like, how do I start? How do I start? Our topic today. And they're like, I'm going to open, we'll go with your karaoke example. I'm going to open I'm like, great. So me, in the discovery that, you know, I've learned with my own flops, you know, a lot of people don't, I mean, I've told my story now about the entrepreneurial journey. Guys, I failed a lot. Like, you know, I've fired clients. They've, you know, said it's not a match for me. Like, that's going to happen. That's okay. Yeah. But that's part of the learning, you know. Sometimes I haven't charged the right amount. We undervalue ourselves. There's a lot of things that happen. So I've failed a lot, but I choose to fail forward. And failing forward means you fall, you get back up, and you keep going.
Well, these people may come and go, but it's your business. You're the one that has to take pride and put in the effort.
Absolutely.
They might not see the stock and value in it and say, we don't want to work with you, but you need to see it in yourself, that you can't let that discourage you.
That is so important to focus on, because it's okay to say sayonara, or if you guys just aren't working out, like whatever your business is, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if your service, physical product, you're offering a place. But I want to use your karaoke example, because if someone was to say that to me, if they were like, I'm like, cool, okay. Are you talking to karaoke bar owners? Like, where are you looking? Is there a market for this? Have you polled people? Those are the things that you want to start to do, because how are you going to know? How are you going to know? And there are people, and this is often, there's so many reasons why businesses fail, and we'll do an episode on that too, but there's so many people that just say, I'm going to open a restaurant, or I'm going to open our example of the karaoke bar. I think it's funny we're talking about karaoke, because I hate karaoke.
I don't like it either.
And that's our example. I love it. But anyway, I know a lot of people that do, but that's a brick and mortar. That's a physical location, right? So you have to make sure you know what you're doing. And so have you gone there? Have you done your research? Have you befriended someone that's done this? Learn from their mistakes.
Have you gone to 10 zillion karaoke bars and seen what they're doing wrong?
Right. Have you seen, like, all of that? So I think you bring up a lot of great points with that. And I think a lot of us don't, once we find that, then we just want to go 100 miles in. And, like, that's okay. Again, big fan of failing forward instead of failing backwards, because when you fail backwards, you fall on your butt, and sometimes it's harder to get up. When you fail forward, it's like, you know, it's one of my metaphors I use a lot, because you can push yourself back up again and keep going. And it's okay to do that, but, like, there's a process to it, and it's perfectly fine to continue to do your job to support yourself, while you're going down this path. I actually highly encourage it. And if you've listened to my story, I did that.
Yeah.
I mean, we both did, really. And then you had, of course, your husband is extremely supportive, so that worked. But imagine if both of you were like, we're just going to quit and do thrifting. Like,
well, I know people that have.
Yeah.
Like, I see people out at the thrift store, the bins that I go to and stuff, and I see couples doing it. But I don't know if they started that way. I haven't gotten all their stories or anything, but I see them doing it together. So.
I highly doubt that was their, right? Because
there's just no way.
Watching you building it.
Unless they got together when they already were doing it full time on their own, I don't. Yeah.
I agree. I think that we're just any business, right? I mean, you hear, we'll go back to our Shark Tank example, or any of these entrepreneurial shows, right? And often you'll hear like, oh, this is what we did, and this is how we supported ourselves during this. There's a story behind it. And just remember, that story was not like, 1 month ago, I cashed out my 401k, and now we've got this great business.
Here. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think it's also this, like, hopefully the takeaway from this episode too is, it's not overnight, and that's okay, because the pressure that I put on myself with all of my businesses, like, I feel like if one's kind of lagging or a little bit light and not moving as fast as I thought it would, I feel like, oh, I failed. Like, I had to change my mindset with that, and I think that's a key thing to talk about when you're starting.
Yeah.
And how to start. Release that failure mindset, because you're going to fail.
Yeah, I had to get over that a lot, because I, like, seriously have been reselling for about a year. I did it on and off, or not on and off, but not very, I wasn't, like, monitoring things, outsourcing. I wasn't really doing any of that before, but about a year ago, I started getting serious, and it's just like, I mean, if you worked retail, you'll know, it's just, there's ups and downs, and that's basically what I deal with. And it's also a lot on me. It's what you put into your business, because there's some months where I look at my data and it's like, wow, I did not make as much as why was this month so much? And then the app, like Poshmark, those type of apps, they will show you like, oh, well, you posted 2 items this month. No wonder you didn't sell like you did the month you posted 400 items. So it's all also on you, how well your business does. Are you getting it out there? I struggle with that a lot, because I don't like making, Instagram videos, and so.
But now she's on a podcast, but anyway.
Now I have to. But when I was making those videos consistently, which I need to get back on that, so don't judge me if you look at my Instagram. I was getting a lot more attention to my Poshmark, and I also was doing TikToks too. I got more, influx. People are coming from there and Instagram and looking at me, and not only were they just looking, they were buying, but it also was helping because people were, tagging me in their stories and stuff. So
that was
not
cool
anymore, because I'm not very busy.
That was a cool feeling though, when people started tagging you and stuff.
Yeah.
I really like that you brought this up, because this is where we're transitioning going to. Because I feel like this is a part of the how to start. Like, once you identify a passion, once you identify something, try it. Try a couple things. Like, you're never going, like, I've tried so many different things. Everyone's like, wow, you've built these things. I'm like, do you know how many failures were behind these?
I've tried so many things too.
And I have zero regrets. I'm so glad I did it.
Yeah.
Because I know the things I love, like you said, and I know the things I dislike, hate. Like, for me, I like some operational aspects of the business, but I'll tell you, I like the front end operational stuff. Like, I love a good spreadsheet. You like a good spreadsheet too. Your husband made
well,
you.
I don't like to
create it, but you like to utilize it. See, I am similar to that too. Like, I like making it when it comes to my events, because I do like run of shows and things like that. But for my other businesses, I'm like,
no,
I can't stand it. I can't stand the back end of tech. That's why when people are like, you found it, find a co-host. I'm like, yeah, but I knew going into that, I was like, I can't stand doing code. I can't stand doing any of this stuff. I have zero desire to, I know enough to make me a little dangerous. I know enough to get the right people to make my vision. But I knew, like, that was on my dislike column. So I'm not going to do it, right? Yeah. So it's really about figuring out your passion, the things you like to do. And if you don't try it, like, because in the beginning, when I was building my businesses in the beginning, which we're both still early in our business, but businesses, I should say, I taught myself how to write code. Mm-hmm. I hated it.
Yeah, it does not sound interesting.
It is not, well, your husband would love it, but yeah. But it was not interesting to me, but it was a necessity. And I have zero regrets because I have such a respect for the people that work on that stuff with me. And I didn't get, all these years, like 6 years into this entrepreneurial journey and say, oh gosh, like I'm making websites for people and writing code and just because I could do it didn't mean I needed to.
You needed to do it, yeah. That's what I struggled with a lot because before I tried to find, oh my gosh, I almost went into, cybersecurity because I'm like, oh, I could make money with that. I never even really asked myself, is that something I really wanted to do until I tried it a little bit and I was like, no. And then I tried other things. So it's just.
What are some other things that you, just so everyone can know? I think I'm learning. I didn't even really know you did cybersecurity. Yeah, I tried. What are some things you tried that you were like, this is so not for me? And like, how do you apply it now to your?
I had like a zillion jobs before. I worked for a little bit with like solar sales. That was like a week there. That was so bad. I was like, no.
But you tried it. And you're like, no.
Well, because I was like, I've done retail sales, so this can't be that much different. But it was like, I don't want to go by myself to a random person's house, especially in my state that I live in. Mm-hmm. So I found out quickly, like, nope. No, thank you.
Yeah.
I did, I tried the cybersecurity. I didn't get a job or anything, obviously. I just tried it like a course and I was like, oh, okay, no. No, this isn't interesting. And then I did auditing on transcripts and then that led me to transcribing. I hated it. It was so bad.
But you tried it.
Yeah. And then I started furniture flipping and that led me to clothes.
And that's why I wanted you to share your journey again here because how do you start? Like,
well, I was really just trying to find anything. The solar sales stuff, whatever, that was before my son. The rest was after. I worked, random. I worked at a gym, while I was pregnant. After I had quit my unsafe job, I went back to a gym I worked at, just because they were easy things to do. And because I didn't want to be idle, but I also couldn't do strenuous jobs because I was like 7 months pregnant. So I did that for a little bit. And then finally I was just like, I need to do something for myself. So I started looking at other things. So I did the auditing, the transcribing. I was trying to find something that would allow me to stay home. So these were things I could do at night during his little naps. And I think a lot of people are looking for that because it's getting scary to leave our kids alone with people we don't know. Mm-hmm. Even if you're not scared of that, some people that's never what they've wanted to do.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of people are trying to find alternates to going to work. They don't want to have to leave their children, not only for safety, but it's really expensive. It's ridiculous.
Right.
And that was one thing why I quit my retail management job, not just because of the unsafe environment, but I was like, half of my check is just going to go to childcare. I'm like, I could do something on my own and stay home.
Yeah. It's crazy. Yeah. So many moms out there, like I have so many girlfriends with kids. Obviously you have your son and I have a lot. I really can't think of any friends that I have that don't have kids at this point. Kind of like the last one standing. But the child care is alone. So I have a girlfriend who decided she loves kids. She wanted to be with her kids. She literally got herself certified and started a daycare. She built on a part for her house and built a business. And it just started with a couple of neighborhood kids. And now she's like the person to go to in her small town, which I think is like, there we go.
She saw something that needed to be.
She saw a problem.
Yeah, she saw a problem.
She fixed it.
And it also fixed her problem.
Yes, because she can watch her kids and stay home. She can make revenue. She can make money and support her family. And she loves kids. Boom, 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 boom. All the bases covered right there. Something else I want to mention with how to start and how to get started. You were kind of dabbling in this earlier when you were talking about social media, because it's essential. We have to be out there. We have to be on social media, because that's how people find business.
Well, that's how I even learned that, because I used to like repaint furniture in my garage, just like because I'm like, oh, I really like the way that looks, but I want it this color. So I would do it for myself. And
because you were passionate about it.
Yeah. So then social media really opened me up, like, wow, people actually make money from this. And I was like, I don't have room for all these things that I want to put in my house that I've redone. So I'm like, well, I guess what, I don't have to. Either I can just cycle them out and sell what I didn't want, or so.
And that became inspiration.
Yeah.
So knowing that that's a part of the beginning of how to start for you, I think it's hard for people. And I'm going to tell you, it was hard for me. Like, it really was. I did not like the sound of my own voice. Now it's like, I don't even hear it anymore. I'm like, oh, that girl's voice, whatever. You get used to it. You get used to seeing yourself on camera. You get over it. I think I did have a little bit of help because I did a lot of live television, you know, when I was in, corporate America. And I did talk about that on previous episodes with MaYapinion and what that was like. But I think that kind of got me prepared. And that was before social media was like really, really big. It was around, but like Facebook was the jam. Like Instagram it started to pop off when I was like kind of at the end of doing some of my live TV stuff. And that's interesting to think about too.
Yeah.
But I was really not into social media. I was not into it, and I was kind of thrust into it because of the dating show I did.
It can be rough.
I was not into it. I was not into it. And like, I because we're all our own worst critics, right? And so it can be hard to see yourself on there. But then there's another component too, where it's a time thing, right? It can
take away your passion really fast for something. If you're already that was my main thing with social media. It was taking away so much of my energy, because I would also then have to, like, I would make, videos and stuff, and it's like, I'm so exhausted from doing the business. Now I have to make all these social media posts about it. So it can be...
It's a lot.
It's a lot. Yeah.
But I think hearing, like, from both of us that it's like, look... Yes, we're all there with you, but you can do it.
It's so beneficial.
It's so beneficial. And here's the thing, too, and definitely want to get your opinion on this as well, but, like, we think that people really care, and they don't care. They don't care if your house isn't perfect. They don't care if your hair's not perfect. They don't care.
There's probably Sally Troll or whatever in the comments, but...
Yeah. You're going to get your trolls. And you know what you do? You just hit that block button. You don't even engage, because there's always going to be haters. And I actually learned further along in my journey. Like, I love it. I love it now when somebody hates.
Commenting and engaging
I'm showing up in the algorithm. Yeah. I'm like, cool. I'm all about it. But I'm not going to engage with that because it's negative. And that would be my advice about this, because I think how to start, you've got to put yourself out there, and you got to find, some people love TikTok, some people love Instagram, some people love Pinterest. That's cool. Like, go for what, you're comfortable with. And I would also say too, that I think sometimes people don't realize you can take videos just of yourself doing I've just done videos of me in the studio like this, candids, and, for instance, you thrifting, just videos like that. You don't always have to be on camera talking like this and, presenting yourself in a certain way. People want to know you. They want to know who they're doing business with. What do you think about that? What's your opinion?
Yeah, I mean, my opinion's similar. I would also say, along the lines with social media, don't let your family get you down, or your friends, because I've had, in the beginning, a lot of people... Not my family necessarily, but I had people would comment on videos, or just like, really, why are you, that's so nasty, you're reselling people's clothing and stuff like that. And I'm just like...
It's so weird.
It's so weird. Like, so you just kind of have to, even if it's your friends and family that says it, if it's something you are passionate about, then gotta kind of block them out and I mean, unless there's, like, something wrong with your idea that's,
Right.
like, ethical or something,
Right.
they're bringing it to you.
That's not what we're talking about here. Yeah.
But, you know, it's hard. Sometimes people don't see the same vision as you, and if you're really passionate about something,
Yeah.
you kind of have to know this, okay, cool, if I failed, then come back for me. Like, but wait till I fail, and then you can, I said, that's what I said, or, you know, whatever.
Yeah. I told you so.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to say. Yeah.
I told you so.
I told you so.
I was here with you. I knew what you were trying to say.
I can't get the words out. Yeah.
I am so glad you brought this up because I wanted to talk about this before the end. So we're getting into it now, which is perfect. I definitely agree with you because one of the biggest misconceptions when you're getting started as an entrepreneur is you're like, oh my God, like
everybody's going to support me.
This happens with a lot of women and men who do MLMs and stuff like that too. And that's a business too. And you have to treat it the same way. Like if you're passionate about a product and you want to sell that, go for it.
There's some people that are amazing with those MLMs. Me, I mean,
technically it's affiliate marketing, right? We should really say affiliate marketing. But yeah, that was like, I'll go into my one failure story. I needed to get back in shape after I've had 2 tremendously horrible car wrecks, so this set me back. So don't judge me now on this, but I need to get back in shape after my 2018 accident. And so I started doing different workout programs that were effective, but were lower impact. And so I found one that we all know. And so I started to sell like the shakes and like, you know, wanted people on my team. And I did sell a little bit. I was having fun with it, but like I wasn't really having fun with it because this was something that I'm not passionate about fitness. Like before I got in the accident, I loved to run. I like to get on that treadmill, run it out. And that was it. Like that was me time. I listened to my new tunes, whatever jams I was into, you know, and I ran off the day. Like I'm not a morning person. So it was always at the end of the day. That didn't mean I needed to build a business, but I failed.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, I'm never going to be I affiliate market with some people still, you know, and I love it, but I have to love the product. I have to be super passionate about it. And it's a side hustle. It's not a main business for me. Yeah. But that is one great example of trying something and realizing, nope, this isn't a business. This is something to keep me healthy. It's not something where I want to, but that's okay. I wouldn't have known if I didn't try. But what it did do is it got me comfortable on social media.
Yeah.
So I feel like that's something that has to be talked about in the how to start, because just because that first thing that you do is not the right fit, it gives you tools and you might not even be realizing then. I mean, I was posting pictures of myself in like bikini, like, you know, 2-piece workout things to show my progress. That was not like my brand at all. That was not really who I was. There's women and men out there that are fabulous at it, and like that's their niche and that's rock and roll.
But that's also their entire personality.
That's their entire personality. And that wasn't mine. That was an outlet for me. That was not my passion.
Yeah, that's their lifestyle, their brand, you know.
It's their brand. And that wasn't my brand. But it helped evolve me because I was hanging around with a bunch of women. So I'm like, okay, my brand is definitely empowering women. So I can pull all of that out of that experience and realize, oh, that helped me build so fail a lot, fail often. Like I believe in that so strongly, but I think that I'm always grateful for these failures or experiences because they're not really what we think they are. It's actually building us to do what we're meant to do. And I think that's really important to remember that. What's your opinion on that?
Yeah. I mean, like I said before, if your first one's not it, keep going. That doesn't mean you're not going to find something. And if you don't, then there's other options.
Yeah. So another piece of advice I often give, in my opinion, this is helpful. Want your opinion, of course. So I find when people do find their passion, right? When you've got your list or you failed a couple times, you're like, oh, Like you're like thrifting. This is my vibe. I'm going for it. Like me, I was like, I love podcasting, going for it. I love events. I'm sticking with it. You know, the things that I'm passionate about. My businesses all evolve around that, right? But I find then what people will do is like, okay, how do I make this happen? How do I start? Literally, this is go time. Like, how do I start now? And then they follow like 50 people that are doing what they want to do.
Yeah.
And I am like, no. Like, shut it down, right?
Yeah.
Because in my opinion, that is confusing. It sets you back and it's not helpful. I think it's really important to limit the amount of people that you follow that do this. Find some really incredible people that are about 1 to 3 steps ahead of you. I like a good 3-stepper, but find one. I like to mix it up. This is my take. This is what works for me. I want to hear what works for you, but one, like a person who's a step or 2 ahead of you, a person who's maybe 2 and then 3, and that's it. You can't follow every single person that thrifts. You can't follow every person that does events. You can't follow every person that podcasts. That's not going to help you. You're going to get so confused. So you really have to connect with, you're essentially online. What I'm telling you to do is follow an online mentor, but like you have to align with their brand and in a way that you can interpret it for yourself, because it's way too overwhelming. But what's your opinion on that? Because I see people just go nuts and they'll follow like every single person.
Well, so on my professional page, my thrifting page or whatever.
Upcycled by Lils.
Upcycled by Lils. So I do follow a lot of different people on that one, just because I like seeing the thrift hauls and like, then it shows me what to look for. But then I also see like, why did she pick that up? Like, could she sell that? Awesome power to her, but I couldn't sell that. I don't want to sell that, you know? Yeah. So that helps me too. So I do follow quite a bit of people on that. Sometimes I'll filter through and be like, okay, they've been annoying, like they're not helping me. But then on like...
Gosh, you're so nice.
But then on like my personal page, I will follow 1 or 2 people.
Yeah.
And then, because I don't keep as much track. I don't watch reels and stuff on my professional one, but like on my personal one.
Because you're outputting on the professional.
Yeah.
So that makes sense.
I'm just trying to get more people in general. And with that, I'll go through, I'll unfollow people, because some people just like to take the same video and like take little clips and just keep making the videos with the little clip. I'm like, okay, I get it. You're trying to get more videos out there, but like, this isn't new content I don't want to see.
You're such a creative. I can see that bothering you so much. Yeah. You're like, no. I like your advice on this, though, because it's going to be different for different people. Yeah. Like, I mean, as podcasters, I'm not going to go follow every podcaster out there. That's so confusing, right?
You don't have time to listen to all those. Or...
No, right? But a few people that I really respect in the podcast world have been inspiring, because they're 1 step, 2 step, and then you've got the, our good old Joe Rogan and people like that are like aspirational, right? And so it's not about comparing yourself. It's about, this is what we're going to talk about next to kind of wrap it up. But I love the point that you bring up, because on your personal page, you don't want to overwhelm yourself. That's where you're doing more output, you're doing in and output. But on your professional page, this is going to be true for you when you have a professional Instagram, TikTok, whatever you're doing, which I highly recommend. In my opinion, it's essential. So you can turn it off, because this is your business. So you want to be able to turn it on and turn it off, right? So I think it does make sense for your type of business to be in the community. That's what I call it. Be in the community, right? Because on my Find a Co-host business page, I am connected with like anyone that says they do anything with podcasting. I connect with them. But that's because I want to be in the community. I want to be a part of that. And that's a little different. When you're, and here's the thing too, with what you were saying, I highly doubt that when you first started, you were like, let me just follow every single person. No. That was super overwhelming for you, right? So now you're at a point where you're confident in what you're doing. You know your clientele, and so it's not overwhelming, and you can turn it on and turn it off, because that's your professional. So I think that's really great advice. Yeah. Because it depends, right, on your business.
Yeah. For me, it makes a lot of sense to follow a lot of people, because then I can see, what they're picking up, what they sold it for, because the more people you follow, you can get a wider knowledge of brands, things like that.
Right.
But it's different for every
Yeah, I just think when you first, like you're in a great place now because you're like, okay, cool, like this is my community.
But at first I only followed a couple people.
Right?
Yeah.
Because wouldn't you have been like, oh my God, my next topic of how to start, comparison. Because that's what starts to happen. You're like, oh my gosh, like, let's say
I'll never be like that, or I'll never,
like you're starting out. And remember, every single person started where you're starting, right? Every single person started there. Regardless of what you're going to do, regardless of what you're going to do in entrepreneurship. And if you overload yourself with these people, like I was just talking about Joe Rogan, who we all know has the biggest podcast ever. If that's who I followed, and I followed like all of them in the beginning, I would have been like,
yeah. It's too much.
I would have been like, oh my God, this guy pumps out a podcast like every day. Like what I have to do that to be successful in my businesses and to have a successful show. That's absolutely not true because they're all the way at Y and you're starting at A. And so you can't do that to yourself because you will be a detriment to yourself in that situation because comparison is the thief of so many things.
And everybody's going to do it. We're not going to, don't say you're not going to do it because you're going to do it at first.
We all do it.
Yeah. You're going to do it at first, but it will be easier to start to filter that as you get more confident in your business.
Love that advice. I agree with you 100%. I think it's important to be vulnerable, and I like to be vulnerable. As you guys know, if you've been listening to the show for a while, I just put it all out there, and I was extremely insecure with a lot of things. Now, I'm like, okay, you like me?
I think it's better, though, for you to be humble and maybe not necessarily insecure, but humble about your business at first, because if you come out, this is going to be the most amazing, like,
guns blazing,
I'm going to be better than all of you, and it doesn't happen, then you look like the jerk.
Yeah, there's a balancing act for this for sure.
But if you're super humble and you're like, I don't know, like, I can't do it, and it takes off, then...
But I think you bring up, like, with that point, what you said earlier, it's like marrying the two together because it's okay to feel that way inside and to be humble.
Need confidence.
Yeah, and to feel, because you're kind of marrying the two things together, and I really like that because being humble is super important, right? But no, I mean, this is the worst thing you could possibly do when you're first starting out. When you have zero plan, zero idea, zero action, you don't have your action plan. I'm a Virgo. I'm all about the action plan. I got to have a list, got to be ready to go, whatever. But you have no proof of concept. You have nothing. And you're out there like, I'm going to be the best. No, you need to be telling yourself that every morning when you wake up and before you go to bed. I'm going to be the best at whatever you're going to do, right? Like I pump myself up some mornings because I got to, some mornings I'm ready to rock. And other mornings I'm like, okay, you got this, Maya. You can do this. You can be the best at podcasting. You can be the best at event planning. Let's do it today, right? You go through those mornings too.
Yeah. I have to psych myself up because I'm like, oh gosh, all right, this is going to be a long day with a toddler.
But
I gotta get some stuff done.
Because you've got many titles too. Your mom, you have your business, your wife. I mean, these are all things. And as women, we take on so much. And so we forget sometimes that like we have all these other, I don't want to call them jobs. I call them roles, right? And purposes, which I've done a whole episode in the past on if you guys are interested in hearing about that. But I think women need multi-purpose in their life.
Yeah.
And we'll do another episode on that too. I'm teasing you guys with a lot of topics because these are good ones. These are really great things to talk about. But I really wanted to talk about this today about how to get started because to go back to the beginning of this, I hear this question a lot. And I can understand how overwhelming it is. And I, again, really like the fact that you're saying be confident in yourself, but also be humble because, you're going to get knocked down. Yeah, please don't get on like TikTok first thing in the morning and be like, I'm going to be the best at, You don't know. You don't know. And some of the most amazing people that we follow and we love to hear from, we love to hear their stories. It's because they failed a lot. They tried a lot of things. They never gave up and they went after their passion.
Yep.
and they're vulnerable. They share it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's important, and that's why I like to share my failures. I actually enjoy my failure stories more than my win stories often, because I hope it's helpful for all of you guys who watch this and listen to this, because
I'm still failing.
Yeah.
So it still happens.
You will fail until the day you die. Like and if you're not living. Boom. That's how I feel, right? What's your opinion on that, on failure?
Yeah, I think don't be scared of it, because it's going to happen. Mm-hmm. If you're scared of it, then it's going to hit you harder. If you know it's going to happen, then you can mentally prepare yourself.
I agree. And I think, in my opinion, failure holds you back, or the fear of failure holds you back, I should say. Sorry. Failure does not hold you back.
Failure is going to look different at every stage, too, of your business. So,
I love that. Yes.
Because you might be getting so big that something seen as a failure when you first started is not even on your radar anymore.
Totally. I mean, we both know this, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't even matter where we are in our business. It just, I mean, when I reflect back and I think about, okay, when I first started, like, failures were not getting enough clients or not getting enough revenue. Like, I felt like that was a failure. It's not my problem anymore. Now it's more like, okay, managing that volume. How am I going to outsource all the things that we've been chatting about on these first couple episodes, and learning how to balance that? And there's failures in that. Yeah. But it's a new failure. It's a new challenge. And if you're afraid of that, like, just like we talked about, afraid to go on camera, you are not going to learn from failure if you're afraid of it. You just got to go into it. And guess what, guys? We're all afraid of it. Secret. Hot tip. Yes. Hot tip. We're all afraid to fail. But then once you get used to it, like, you embrace it as as it's like your friend. And let me tell you something. That's why we're talking about it on this episode, about where do I start? How do I start? That's when you fail a lot. And that is your best teacher, in my opinion. Yeah. Okay, so I want us to share kind of our opinions, like our last pieces of advice. Okay. So anything we haven't covered yet, Lil, like, about how to start, and like the who, what, when, where, how, all of that, but like how to start, anything we haven't talked about that you're extremely passionate about, in your opinion, that is essential that we talk about, because we could probably talk about this for hours. But what are some hot takes for you in your opinion?
Something I wish I would have done is join Facebook groups. I don't know if there's other groups, like, I don't know if it's something you're passionate about that meets in person. I don't know. Maybe something like that.
We're coming back in person now. Thank goodness. Yes.
So I would just say find a community before you start. That would have helped me a lot, besides just watching, social media videos. But I wish I would have gotten in some of these Facebook groups and things like that to just know even where to start from people who are in it already. And they can tell you their ups and downs, and there's going to be people, like you said, follow somebody 1, 2, and 3 steps ahead of you. There's going to be all these people in these groups, and who knows, they might be close to you even, and you guys could form a friendship, and it might even look like something where you're helping them with their business, and then you start to gain more knowledge, and you go off and do a similar one. So I would just say try to find a community first. Would be very helpful.
That's your hot tip for how to start.
I wish I would have done that. Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like that's like what we're doing today, is like, I wish I would have.
Yeah.
Or how did I fail in the beginning? And hopefully that's a good teacher for you guys. I think that's a great one. Yeah. I'm like, as you're talking about that, I'm thinking back, and I'm like, yeah, I wish I would have been in more podcast communities. Yep. I wish I would have been in more event planning, like communities. Yeah. And I am in those now, but like, I didn't know right away. So join them right away. But I love what you said about use it as a collaboration tool, use it as a way to learn from each other, not as a comparison. Like, that's huge. You use it as building a community. Love it. Love it. Wish I would have done it too. For me, I think we've covered a lot of it, but it sounds very simple. But honestly, once you do your likes and your don't likes, or your likes or your dislikes, and once you really find something and you start down that path, don't be afraid to pivot. Do not be afraid to pivot. Mm-hmm. Do not be afraid to change, like we've been talking about. That's one huge thing. Don't be afraid to fail. We've already talked about that. And don't be afraid to just start. I know that sounds so simple, but I can't tell you how many people write me messages too, and they're like, I'm going to do this, and I see them 2 years later. To your point, what you said, don't be going out shouting from the mountaintops. Yeah. I'm going to start the next Twitter. I'm going to start the next Facebook. And then 2 years later, you still see this person working in their career. And that's totally cool. Mm-hmm. We need people that want to support businesses and work. But, if this is really what you want to do, just start. And that's really the message of this episode today.
And even if that just means starting with your idea or concept.
Mm-hmm. Because I think that's what stops people from just starting. It's so overwhelming. It's overwhelming.
Yeah.
They're like, where do I even start? Well, we're telling you today where to start. Find your passion. Find out what you don't like to do. And do not throw your energy into that. Yes. Right? And just starting is just a little bit every single day. Mm-hmm. It's not building a pyramid in
and starting could just be researching and joining these communities and making friends, making relationships in these communities that you're trying to be a part of.
Yeah, I completely agree, because I've found myself going down different, these different business ventures that I've done because of community. Yeah. And that is a step. And that's really my kind of final thing to say on how to start is don't let it overwhelm you. Walk away from it for a day if you need to. But just remember that, it's like the gym. It's like going to the gym, right? If you go to the gym once a month for the entire day, you do a 12-hour day at the gym. Mm-hmm. Are you going to really see any difference? No, you're probably not going to get out of bed for 3 days. At least I won't, because I'm in my 30s now. So, I probably would be in bed for a month. But if you go to the gym, let's not even go that far. Let's say you do a walk around your neighborhood for 10 minutes every day. Then in a month or a week or whatever your pace is that works for you, then you're doing a 20-minute walk every day. Then you're doing a 30. Then guess what? Then we're in the gym. Now we're lifting weights.
You just have to start somewhere.
You have to at least take a step every day. And if it overwhelms you, take a break. Yeah. Take a break. But don't abandon ship. And that's how you start. Mm-hmm. In my opinion, that's how you start. And when someone told me that analogy in my community, they were like, just a little bit every day. That's when I started to really thrive in the beginning. Because it was so overwhelming for me. I was like, no, just one little thing.
Every day.
And like you said perfectly, even if that day we're using the 10-minute analogy in the walk still, but if you read about it that day, great.
Yeah.
Write your note. You worked towards your business. Mm-hmm. You hired someone to start your website. Check. You've done something that day. Mm-hmm. And I wish, here we are, our wishes. This is really what it's about. I wish someone had told me, Maya, you hired a developer to create the website. That is a check. That is moving in the right direction. For me, I put so much pressure on myself. I'm like, oh, it's not done. Oh my God, it needs to be finished. No, it's always evolving. Mm-hmm. And so do you want to be some of the people that I see that are like, I wish I want to do this. And, 2 years later, they're not because they feel like they have to accomplish it all in one day or 1 week. Or would you rather be the person that takes just couple steps every day until you're running and then you're lifting weights, my gym analogy? That's my advice about, in my opinion, that's really the essential part too. I love the community. I think that's so important because you want people around you that are going to support you and lift you up. And to your point, and in my opinion too, you think your family and friends are always going to support you, and that's not the case. So building that community is going to keep you taking those steps forward.
Yeah.
And that is how you start.
There you go.
What do you think?
Yeah. I wish I would have heard this.
I wish I would have heard this too. I mean, these are all the things I wish I would have heard. So we're going to Nike it. Just start. Instead of just start.
Just start.
Just start. Little step at a time. Anything else you want to add to our episode today, Lil?
I think we wrapped it up for you guys.
Awesome. Well, thanks for being with me again, Lil.
Thanks for having me.
All right. Well, we'll see you guys on the next episode with more tips on how to become an entrepreneur.
Awesome. We'll see you soon.
Thank you so much for listening to the MaYapinion Podcast. Make sure to follow us on all major social media platforms at MaYapinion Podcast. And don't forget to follow Lily at Upcycled by Lils on Poshmark, TikTok, and Instagram. And don't forget to follow Maya at Maya Roffler on Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook. We'll see you back here next time.